Hi, sci-fi fans. Welcome to Visionary Stories. In-depth sci-fi stories with an uplifting theme. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Thank you.
Alien Inheritance, the sequel, Chapter 2. The hum of the stasis chamber faded like the tail end of a dream. John blinked against the light, his limbs heavy, his brain sluggish. The glass shell of the pod hissed open with a soft exhale of air, warm and sweet-smelling. A slow breeze drifted in from the ventilation system, carrying the faint scent of cinnamon, citrus, and coconut? He stirred, groaning. His back cracked. His joints complained. Everything felt too soft and too stiff at once. Then she leaned over him. Athea. Blonde, tanned, stunning. Her skin looked sun-kissed and impossibly smooth, like it had been airbrushed by the gods. Her platinum hair cascaded over one shoulder, framing her face in shimmering waves. She wore a modified version of the bodysuit she'd first awakened in, if you could call it that. It was a bikini, technically. A high-cut, gold-edged, barely there string ensemble that looked like it had been inspired by a sci-fi pin-up calendar and re-engineered for zero gravity. Thin, gleaming straps clung to her hips and shoulders. Metallic detailing curled across her chest and collarbones in a pattern that suggested modesty, then... John's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Athea smiled slowly, brushing her fingers down his chest. "You're awake." Yeah, I think. He blinked again. "Are we there?" She shook her head. 1 week to re-entry. "I woke you early." His brow furrowed. "Why?" Her eyes sparkled. "I missed you." The cabin of the ship was warm, the lights dimmed to a sunset glow. Outside the observation window, the stars drifted like slow rain across an endless black sea. John floated, still groggy, trying to find the edge of a thought, as Athea circled him like a slow orbit. There was no gravity, just the gentle pull of her presence, and the occasional brush of her fingers against his skin as she repositioned him with fluid grace. He reached out, clumsily, and she caught his wrist. "You're not used to it yet," she said, smiling. "Let me help." She pulled him toward her, bodies colliding softly in midair. Her hands slid around his shoulders, her legs wrapping around his waist with practiced elegance. "You planned this," he said, voice dry. "I adapted," she whispered, brushing her lips against his. "The voyage is long, you needed stimulation." His mind was still trying to catch up when he felt something smooth curl around his back, warm, soft, and slowly gliding across his lower spine. He froze. "Wait, is that?" Athea's tail slid forward, wrapping gently around his thigh. "You're very expressive when nervous," she murmured into his ear. "I'm not nervous," he managed. Liar. She kissed him then, slow and deep, and in that moment John forgot how time worked. The universe contracted. There were no stars, no systems, just warm skin, soft lips, and a golden curve of heat curling around him like a halo of trouble. Later, they floated side by side in the main chamber, tangled together in a soft net that doubled as a sleeping sling. A warm, pleasant silence filled the space. John stared out the viewport, watching Earth grow larger by the hour, blue and brilliant against the black. "I forgot how good it looks," he said. Athea nuzzled into his shoulder. "I haven't." John turned to her. "So, what's the plan when we land?" She smiled. "Acquire supplies, reconnect with allies, and?" She ran a finger down his stomach. "Sample culinary novelties?" John groaned. "You're not going to make me explain the grocery store again, are you?" She kissed his neck. "Only the forbidden aisle." The ship descended like a whisper, shimmering silently through a layer of early morning mist before touching down behind the old farmhouse. John's land, still untouched since the day he left, welcomed them with long golden grasses, a sagging fence, and the faint scent of pine. The barn had collapsed sometime in the past year, but the house stood firm, weathered but proud. The cloaking field engaged automatically, disguising the ship as a metallic grain silo. John stepped out onto the porch, his boots crunching against familiar wood. He inhaled deeply. Home. The Mustang sat where he'd left it, tucked safely inside the garage, shielded from time and rust by layers of care and insulation. When he opened the door, the overhead light flickered to life and the scent of aged leather and gasoline hit him like nostalgia itself. He grinned. "You missed me," he said, patting the hood. They made contact with Claire later that morning. She arrived in a sleek black SUV that didn't exist the last time John saw her. The moment she stepped out, she looked like she owned half the city, and probably did. Navy blue heels, power suit, tablet in one hand, coffee in the other. Her eyes locked on Athea first. Claire stopped short, took one look at the golden skin, platinum hair, curve-hugging outfit, and sheer top, and nearly dropped her latte. "She is thus," she muttered. "She looks like a Bond girl designed by an AI." Athea stepped forward with a graceful nod. "Hello again." Claire gave her a once-over. "That is not the same body you left with." "I upgraded," Athea replied. Claire raised a brow. "Respect?" Inside the house, everything was familiar, but dusted and quiet. Claire set her coffee down and pulled out a slim envelope, handing it to John like she was delivering a mission dossier. "So, surprise," she said. "The company took off, you disappeared, people thought you died, and sympathy PR is a hell of a thing. Also, I may have weaponized your alien love story." John blinked. "Weaponized?" She shrugged. "Increased contracts, a construction podcast, and some speculative fiction ghostwritten under your name. You're rich now." "How rich?" Claire grinned. "7 figures. Liquid." John stared. "Dollars?" She nodded. "Not space credits. I figured you'd want something usable when you came back for snacks." She handed over the envelope. "Your bank access. 2 properties. One in the city, one in the mountains. You've got a future here if you want it." John turned the envelope over in his hands. Quiet for a long beat. "Thanks for keeping the lights on." Claire leaned back. "I knew you'd be back. I just didn't know if you'd be wearing pants when it happened." Athea sipped from Claire's mug. "I find pants optional." With John off gathering seeds, political archives, and what the council would call cultural enrichment materials, Athea took Claire on a different kind of mission. It started with fashion. Sleek, strategic, and entirely tight. Tops that clung like second skin. Dresses with seams placed like weaponized suggestion. Heels that shifted the center of gravity just enough to turn heads. Athea analyzed each piece like it was tech. Tested how the light played on it, how the fabric moved when she walked. "This one accentuates assertiveness," she said of a crimson wrap dress with a slit to the hip. Claire whistled. "That one starts wars." Then came lingerie. Lace, latex, silk, and mesh, entire bags full. Then boxes. "Velana Prime has no concept of bedroom attire?" Claire asked, halfway through checkout. Athea considered. "Only ceremonial blankets." Claire laughed so hard she had to lean against the counter. Then they hit the adult bookstores. And the bookstores that should have been adult. Together they picked out erotic novels in several heat levels, illustrated birth and child-rearing manuals, vintage sex education films, the full Kama Sutra, plus 2 off-brand expansions. Claire insisted on including a few surprise packs, which Athea labeled as high-potential training modules. By the 4th day, Claire was glassy-eyed and giddy. Athea finally asked, "Would you like a demonstration?" Claire blinked. "You're not serious." Athea leaned in, lips brushing her ear. "I have studied your preferences. Precision, confidence, touch." Claire shivered. "Just don't tell John." "I will not," Athea whispered, before kissing her softly. Just once, with enough elegance to leave Claire staring at the ceiling fan like it held answers to the universe. After days of shopping, Claire and Athea returned home. They became a thing. They modeled attire for each other and tested toys. By the time John returned, Claire was glassy-eyed and didn't care what John knew. A week later, the Mustang purred in the driveway. The farmhouse echoed with life again. John had returned from his errands to find the house swarming with crates, spices, historical texts, educational films, and an entire bedroom converted into a storage zone labeled Velana Reformation Project, confidential. Every day he moved truckloads to the ship parked discreetly beyond the tree line. Every night he wondered what Athea and Claire were whispering about in the kitchen. As the sun dipped low on their final day, the Mustang was loaded with Athea's final personal selections. John caught a glimpse of glossy black fabric and narrowed his eyes. "Is that latex?" Athea didn't flinch. "Claire insists it is essential." Claire, sipping tea with suspicious serenity, added, "Don't worry, we labeled it emotional armor." John sighed and shoved another crate of chocolate into the trunk. Athea hand-sorted each piece by emotional effect. Claire added more tea. John tried to focus on his checklist and not the fact that his alien soulmate now had a growing fascination with corsets, clamps, and vibrating tech shaped like sea creatures. He leaned against the car, watching them. "You're both trouble," Claire winked. "That's why you love us." The trip back was an otherworldly experience. Athea set John into the stasis chamber and then entered one herself. John was awakened by Athea. When his eyes focused, his breath caught. Standing in front of him was Athea in her human form. She was wearing a black latex outfit that could have been painted on. "How long this time?" asked John. "We still have 4 months to go, but I missed you too much. We have a lot to explore." They opened crates and arranged toys and lingerie into layers of lessons. This made the both of them so excited they had to break often.